Today, I have the opportunity to meet and speak with Sara Ticha. Sarah, I'm so excited to meet you. I've really enjoyed following you on Instagram and all the positive energy you bring to your channel. How are you feeling today?
Hi, Todd, and thank you so much for having me on your podcast and
Of course.
also wonderful pronunciation of my last name.
Uh-huh.
Not everybody
Thank
gets that.
you. Thank
So
you.
thank you. Yeah, I'm feeling good today. I would say it was a pretty intense week in terms of, I don't know, just
Tell me.
life
Tell me.
happening.
I'm
Yeah, I
curious
feel
though.
like
I would agree with you, but I'm just curious what part was intense for you.
for me, this week I actually paused, or it was late last week, but I paused after a long time. There were weeks and weeks and weeks of me just moving from one place to another. I taught at two festivals and also participated on two festivals, which can get intense on itself. I had a training earlier. I was taking care of my family. So this time I finally, like now I'm by myself in the countryside. And I feel like when you pause, it's when the body can really, like the body mind can really notice what happened. So now I'm in a process of digesting the experiences of the past weeks, which really makes me think about things and reevaluate things and think for the future. Do I want to keep moving in this way?
Mm.
Or what can I adjust or shift? Is this
Mm.
appropriate or do I want to make any changes?
Can you give me an example of perhaps an event that occurred that is causing you to rethink like this?
Hmm. um, I think like a living situation. Now we're getting really into personal things, but a living situation, and I've been like currently I'm in my parents' place on a countryside, but other than that, I live in the city. I either live in Prague, in the middle of a city, or when I'm in Bali, which is my second home, it's also quite a busy place, Ubud. Um, and I'm realizing, I don't know if it's coming with age, but the older I get and as time passes, I just feel like I want to move out of the city. And currently, I'm exploring the options of how to do that in the best way. And yeah, so it's like a whole new thing of finding a home and creating a place where I can feel grounded, where I can live, because I've been traveling quite a lot and now I'm craving
Great
the other thing.
answer. Great
Yeah.
answer. I feel like a lot of budding yoga teachers, yoga practitioners see the travel lifestyle of the professional international yoga lifestyle, and it's really hard for us not to feel like, wow, I want that. That looks so incredible. I mean, obviously, if you're a traveler and you love international culture, I love hearing though, like your perspective after having a lot of time in that environment of that. Now you're kind of having this sort of like, maybe I want to chill out a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. But
I-
how do you have it? You have
but
a
how
yoga
to,
studio, right? You have a pretty
yes.
grounded
Yeah.
situation
Yeah, my
going
wife and
on.
I, we've been here for 18 years in this location. And so I do appreciate that. But I do remember when I watched my friends and colleagues traveling, I don't want to use the word jealous, but I wanted that too. Like I felt like, gosh, that looks so much more fun. You know, like
Yeah,
the day in and day out of showing up every single day and dealing with all the challenges of holding down a brick and mortar space in relation to the economics of it and all that sort of stuff. Like there's times where I thought, gosh, that looks so much more glamorous. But I think now I am getting a little older too, and I mean, we all are, right? And so I do cherish where I am right now, but I totally understand what you're saying, and that's so cool.
absolutely.
Can you tell me a little bit about the festivals that you taught at? Where did you go?
I'm gonna in a moment. It's just what came to my mind as you were sharing your part is that like this natural tendency of a human mind to always look at the other thing, what you don't have in the moment. So whether
True.
you're in a position of a person who is having this teaching and traveling lifestyle, or person that has a yoga studio, uh, all both of them, or like all expressions of life and career have their beautiful sides and their challenges, and it's just interesting to see how you always kind of miss the other thing
So
and
true.
how the yoga practice helps you, become aware
Yeah.
of these
Yeah.
tendencies of the mind and really lean back into appreciation of what you have.
That gave me a funny idea. Let's swap.
I was like, can I house at your studio?
Yeah. And I'll go off to some
I would
festival.
actually like
Yeah.
that.
All right.
Yeah, I would like that for a little bit. But yeah,
Maybe I hear you. That's funny. Well,
yeah,
that's so cool. What
the
got
festival.
you inspired? Oh yeah. What got, oh yeah, the festival question. Where were you teaching?
I was in Corfu in Greece at the Colibri Spirit Festival and in Czech Republic at the Healing Festival.
Wow.
And they both happened, it was beginning of August, both of them, and they were actually back to back. They overlapped a little bit. So my partner and I had 8 consecutive days of just festival lifestyle.
Yeah.
And beautiful, I must say, beautiful and deep. And yeah, I think festivals can get as deep as you want them to. It can be either a lighter experience of celebration, or it can really uproot your life, if that's the expression. It can
Yeah.
really flip things for you and
Yeah.
make you look at things from a different perspective.
What
So
were your offerings? What type of when you're called to the stage to teach,
mm.
which direction do you go?
Currently, I am playing with a combination of asana practice, so vinyasa yoga practice, which is something that I have been doing and teaching for most of my career, most of my yoga journey. But a couple years ago, I started to play around with aspects of Bhakti, and I discovered mantra chanting. And with zero musical background, I started to learn a new instrument, harmonium, and I started to open up my voice, and I noticed how transformative that is, how much it helped me. It felt like a therapy I did not know I was looking for, but it was exactly that which was necessary for me to release something from the body and to connect with myself on a deeper level. So now the practice, I call it Bhakti Flow, and what happened at the Colibri Spirit Festival, I themed it around celebration of life. The class was an invitation to look at Bhakti as a celebration of life from different perspective, just like in Kirtan, in devotional chanting, we sing different names of the divine, which are connected to different aspects, different flavors of life. So the practice was about tasting different flavors of life and embracing all of the different flavors of life, not only the joyful, but all of them, the
Mm,
scary and
mm.
the challenging. So it was a little vinyasa
Yeah.
and there was a little dancing moment as well. Andre, my partner, he's apart from other things, he also DJs. So he was DJing live music for us, and then we chanted at the end. So really,
Very
uh,
cool.
yeah.
Was it well received?
Yeah. At the beginning, people were a little skeptical
Mm,
because it was the last day of the festival after 6 days of just going fully in, especially the last night. People stayed out till late, and I had the first session on Friday morning. So everybody who came was a little like, you could see that people are tired, but they still showed up. And at the beginning, it was a little skeptical, I would say. I could see it in the faces, but then through, I think, just the power of practice, sometimes you don't feel like stepping on the yoga mat, or you don't even feel like teaching, but then as soon as it begins and you get into that as a teacher
mm.
and as a student, this magic starts happening, and eventually it was a very beautiful and fun experience. And it actually fell exactly on the day of my birthday, so it was my birthday on the
Nice.
day,
Nice.
and it was the best celebration of
That's
my
cool.
birthdays I could have wished for.
That can give you a little extra juice, don't you think, when you wake up and you know it's your birthday? Like, even if you're doing the same thing you do every day, you're like, it's going to be more
Yeah,
fun
but
today.
yeah,
It's going to be more fun.
exactly.
It's my birthday.
Absolutely. I was buzzing. I woke up that day. The session was at 8. I was supposed to be there at 8 in the morning, but I woke up at 3 in the morning,
Oh,
just like,
yeah.
is it morning yet? Then I tried to go back to sleep, but I could not really. So I just laid in bed and tossed around. And despite having very little sleep, I was just very, very excited.
Do you still get nerves before going in front of a group like that? Do you still contend with nervous energy?
That is a really good question. I used to not get any nerves, but especially before or like during this festival, the Colibri Spirit Festival, I did feel a little nervous. Um, I think I came like what it was caused by is that that festival was very important to me, and I felt like I need to make it extra special. I need to be, I need to give this extra something. And through that, I started to feel nervous, and then I tried to remind to myself that, hey, like you have nobody to impress, and this is not about you. You're here just to do your job, just to help people feel good and have a good time and have an incredible practice. Like that's the only thing I can do my job. So when I reminded myself that, I did not feel nervous, but yeah, I like this is one thing I really needed to always remind to myself whenever I stepped on a stage, and especially like this class was, there were maybe, I don't know, 60, 70 people. So it was a big class, but it wasn't like a stadium, huge stage type of situation. Other festivals have that too. And I think what I at least needed the most in these situations is to remind to myself that this is not about me proving myself to anybody. This is not about me showing how great I am. Nobody cares about that. This is just me doing my job, period. Like, humbling myself a little.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what always helps. Yeah.
I love hearing
But
that. I like hearing the
yeah,
inner workings of that kind of pre-stage environment because that happens even like say someone just finishes their yoga teacher training and they're going to teach their very first class. It can be incredible nerve-wracking. So I like that you are bringing up sort of this introspective, let me just get clear about what my role is
yeah,
and what can I do to actually facilitate that. That's so cool. I
yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Do
Awesome.
you run teacher trainings?
I do. We
Yeah,
do. Yeah, my
yeah,
wife.
yeah.
We have for a long time. We've put a lot.
You teach this also to your students, like how
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
step up in front of people, how to present, like how to take on that role of a
Yeah.
facilitator.
What is your thoughts on this? One thing I always say is like sometimes the new teacher will come in, they'll turn on the lights, they'll open the door or whatever their entry is, and they'll say, "Everybody, I'm really nervous. This is my first time ever doing this. I'm so nervous. I'm so nervous." And oftentimes I'll say like, just don't come in with that. Like, don't, don't come. I mean, it is being honest. And there's this
Yeah,
fine line of like, yes, we should be honest. Like, we should be very honest about what we're thinking and feeling. But sometimes, like, when I hear somebody come in and they go, oh my gosh, I'm so nervous. I'm so nervous. I don't know how I'm going to do this. You guys, this is my first time. Please be nice to me. I don't know what I'm doing. I go, oh boy, here we go. Like,
yeah,
no, but then they get going and you feel like so excited. But I find like if you almost just cut right into like, good morning, everybody, let's begin, and just like
yeah,
leave that whole doubt, leave all of the worry, all the self-criticism, just save that maybe for the middle of the class. Because by the time you get to the middle of the class, you probably won't say it because you're going to be feeling pretty
yeah,
good. Like I like that you brought up the dynamic of the magic of even, and I like that you said like sometimes as a teacher, I might even be walking in going, I'm not really in the mood for this right now. Like I'm
yeah,
just not in the mood. But then something happens after like right after the beginning where you're just like, oh my gosh, I love what I do. I love what I do. This is so fun. So
yeah.
I like that you're bringing attention to all that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree with you there, and also on announcing that you feel nervous. Like, absolutely, it's sweet to be honest. But um, something I have been told in my first teacher training is that when you step into the room, you need to own, like, I don't know the right expression, but to own the place, like to step there with your, shoulders back, chin up, and just like this is me, and I'm gonna do my job now. And
Yeah, I like
just
that.
own it. And I remember my first class I ever taught. I did my teacher training in Austria in German, and both German and English are not my native languages, and German is even under English. I would say something that is more challenging for me. And the first job I got was at a fitness studio. So it was a fitness studio yoga class. And they had me sit on a little stage, and there were 50 people. It was a huge class for my
Yeah,
first class,
yeah.
and it was supposed to be in German. And I sat there, and I think I even trembled a little bit, and I felt my sweat just dripping down my body. because of how nervous I was.
That's a
But
whole nother element. Like not
yeah,
having to teach in a foreign language. I'm trying to learn Spanish, and every time I try to teach in Spanish, if I have a Spanish speaking group, oh, wow,
yeah.
so
You would
difficult.
get used to it. You would get
Uh-huh.
used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I kept the words of my teacher training teacher that said, just on the room, just smile, try to do your best. Like not try to do your best, do your best and give it your all. And I think if you from your heart give your all as a teacher, but also like no matter what you do, no matter what the job is, when you do your best and do it honestly, I think people can feel it.
Yeah.
um,
Yes.
and I have a little like side funny story here. Same
Yes.
fitness studio, but a different class. I was 20, 21. No, I was 22. And so they gave me this one class, and then they said, oh, there's also a Pilates class after the yoga class. You can take that as well. I have never attended a Pilates lesson in my life. I was like, yeah, sure, I can do that. So I watched some YouTube videos. I was like, it cannot be that hard.
Yeah.
And I taught the Pilates class, did my best. I think it was a good workout. And after the class, one lady comes to me and she's like, I really like your energy. It was a good class, but dear, it was not Pilates.
Yeah.
And, like she noticed, she knew because she was also a Pilates instructor. But I think really when you do your best from the heart, and of
Yes.
course, we don't want to harm people, we want to be informed, we want to be careful, but I think just doing an
Mm.
honest job from the heart cannot be wrong, even if you make mistakes, even if you mix up left and right or forget to do the whole second side of a flow. If you're honest and happy, or like try to, if people can see that you're passionate and can feel your passion for what you're doing, you cannot really go wrong, no matter how nervous you are.
Great
They
advice.
will not
I
see that.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's on that topic of language and lack thereof. Do you find that, say, first of all, how many languages do you speak and or feel like you've taken an honest, good effort at?
So Slovak is my mother tongue, and English and German are the foreign languages that I speak.
Nice.
And then we
Amazing.
have some little
A little
like
what?
European,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
languages. Like Polish is quite similar. Czech is very similar. So
Yeah.
somewhat Czech, somewhat Polish, some Spanish, but
Understood.
mostly English and German and
What is
Slovak.
what is your feeling when you are limited in wordcraft, like limited in your language ability? Do you feel that sometimes that almost enhances your teaching because you speak
Mm.
maybe more from a body language and the emotive language like you're speaking of, like having your overall vibe be I'm feeling pretty good. I'm happy. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy you're here. Like that type of thing. What is your experience when you don't have the language for it? Do you feel like you can still be just as effective?
No, actually, I think language is super important.
Mm,
And also, you need to feel comfortable in the language. So,
yeah.
for example, when it comes to teaching yoga, although English is not my native tongue, I learned most of the stuff about yoga, mindfulness, spirituality, and everything in English language. So, I have the terminology and I can talk about these topics related to yoga, etc., the best in English language, because in Slovak language, for example, it just feels a little awkward, and people even use many English words because we do not have an adequate translation for that for them. So I prefer to teach mostly in English. In German and Slovak, I can give the instructions well enough, but I feel like it is really important to, as yoga teachers, I think it's really important to be able to have a certain level of clarity of expression and lightness of expression and eloquence, so that um, like what comes to my mind right now is poetry. Like I have noticed and experienced teachers being almost a little poetic in their classes, and of course you don't want to slip into this cliche um, yoga quotes that swim around in the space of yoga. But I really appreciate when people can be skillful with the way they talk.
Mm, yeah.
So I think it's really important for a teacher to be able to talk nicely. And of course, the energy is what speaks the loudest, but then the
Nice.
language is helpful.
I agree. Great
Yeah.
answer. I'm curious, when was your first yoga experience? You mentioned already teaching at age 21, 22.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
what was your introduction to yoga? How did you come across it?
I used to play tennis since I was 5 until my late teenage years. And then I stopped and I needed to balance out my body because it was just destroyed after so many years of the sport. And it was either swimming or yoga, as recommended by my doctor. And I just don't really like pools and chlorine water. So I was like, yoga it is. And I had no idea. And my first yoga classes that I attended were when I was 18. It was Iyengar, and it was very slow. And this was in what, 2011 or 12. And at that time, yoga studios in Bratislava, Eastern Europe, not developed. Like yoga has not arrived to Slovakia. At that time, it was not like in New York or in other places. So we had a handful of studios, and the like the people coming to the classes were mostly in their like mid 50s, 60s. And then there was my mom who was in her 40s, and then me and my brother, me 18, my brother 15. So I I felt a little, it was like a funny relationship of I could not go there because something always pulled me in, but I was not in love with it. But
Mm,
there was like something I could not put into words, something I could not articulate or understand, but something that kept me returning back. It was not the asana, because the asana, I will just say for me at the time, I thought it was very boring. I was a very athletic person, and doing, I don't know, a downward facing dog did not feel like a challenge for me. And that's what I understood at the time sport should bring you, challenge. Um, so that's what I was looking for. But actually, what I found through the practice was this stillness. What I remember the most from the classes is Shavasana, because I did not know the concept of doing nothing. Like, okay, now I just lay and do nothing. What
mm.
does that do to me? This is what I do at night. I don't do it in the middle, like in late afternoon. What's the point? I did not understand the concept of just relaxing, just being. But that is what I remember the most, and this is what I kept coming back for. And I didn't know it at the time, but now I see it,
I love hearing
that's
that.
my experience with yoga.
Yeah. So cool. So then where was there a aha light bulb, I'm in love with yoga moment when you experienced a different style or tradition?
Yeah, I guess everybody has this aha moment at some point. Um, for me, it came later, about 3 or 4 years after I first started practicing. From Iyengar, I then moved to Vinyasa and Ashtanga and was a little more dynamic. And I liked it a little bit more, but I still like it, there was not this resonance. It did not click. I remember both of my first teachers in the studio in Slovakia and my second teacher in Vienna, they were ladies again in their like mid 50s, and they were so happy. And I was like, that's suspicious. Why are you so happy? I did not understand at
I
all.
don't believe you. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like there's something going on which I don't know about. And it still did not click. It clicked when I practiced with a teacher, um, with and she Talia Sutra is her name on social media. Maybe you're aware of her. Wonderful teacher, and it was extremely challenging, the asana, and that's what I needed at that time, because I needed to be challenged, because the only thing I knew was being challenged. So I thought that's where the practice is happening. So I found this level of intensity of asana practice. And I was like, yes, that's it. And through that, I like it slowly, I remember saying to myself that I want to do this every day because the level of fulfillment it gives me is just incredible. And I did it for some period of time every day. And I think that's when it clicked. Like through the intensity of an asana practice, I discovered parts of myself in the body and in the mind that I didn't know were available. I thought I was already a fully formed person with like, this is what you can do, this is what you cannot do. And then through the asana practice, as I explored it, I learned actually neither of my ideas of my body or of my mind are not true. I'm
Mm,
still exploring myself. I'm still becoming. So what could I become?
mm,
What could this be? What could I find through practice? Um, and then a friend of mine asked me to teach him some of the yoga that I was doing because he saw it. I think I posted something maybe on Instagram and he's like, that's so cool. I want to learn. So I showed him, and that's when I first started teaching before having my teacher training, just one person. And then another friend joined. And then I thought, this is pretty awesome. This is extremely fulfilling,
yes.
sharing this thing that I'm passionate about with others. And it rippled from there.
Nice, Sarah. That's so cool.
Yeah.
I like that. I like the discovery that you're talking about of feeling like I'm a fully formed individual and then having those doors open up of like, maybe I'm not. And then
Yeah.
when you ask the question of, so what am I to become? That's a cool question. It's a great
Mm.
question.
So who are you to become?
Who am I to become? What lays ahead for me? So then the first time you mentioned your passion, I've watched you like on Instagram share stories about your passion for Bhakti. Was your introduction to Bhakti kind of similar? From my, I'm curious. Actually, I want to hear your story first before I share any about my. What was your, like your first impression when you saw someone at the harmonium singing? Do you remember what your first thought was?
Yeah, the first time I'm trying to think back. I think there were times where I was in a situation where there was a harmonium present and we had the kirtan going on, but there was such block between me and music and emotional music that I did not even register it. But then in 2019, I believe, I co-hosted a retreat with a good friend of mine, Alexia, from Vienna, Yoga Alexia. She has a wonderful yoga studio, and she has a Bhakti practice, and she brought her harmonium with her, and we were in a circle co-hosting this retreat together, so I could not be there. And she started to lead a kirtan, and immediately I thought, oh my goodness, singing, my voice is not good, etc., etc. My thoughts started going in this direction. But then I thought, what the heck? It's loud, the harmonium is loud, people are chanting at the same time, nobody's going to hear me, so I may as well sing. And then I started chanting, and I was not going through anything emotionally burdening at the moment, but I remember I started chanting and then I started crying very soon after I started chanting, and I did not understand. And I felt such a sense of release after. And I just knew I needed to buy myself that instrument, and I had zero musical skills. So I bought myself a harmonium and I started to learn how to play it, just like very simple mantras and chord progressions. And for the first year, I cried almost every single time I played something, I cried. And I think it's the resonance of the instrument and it's the resonance of the sound of the words I was chanting, and it's the fact that the throat has been blocked for such a long time, and there was so much judgment, self-imposed judgment of my own vocal expression. So that was my introduction to Bhakti. And yes, similar to yoga asana, though I must say with yoga asana, quote unquote, I don't know if people see the video, but air quotes, I was always kind of good with movement, if I say that way. I have been moving my entire life. I used to play tennis 5 times a week, and I have always like doing something with my body. Yes, it was challenging, but it's something I was used to. But opening the voice, it's different. You cannot push yourself there. You have to surrender, you have to open, you have to soften. So it was a different kind of journey,
Mm,
um, but extremely powerful. And that's what for me, more powerful than therapy. Uh,
mm,
I
yes.
really, it sounds cliche, but it changed me. It
Yeah.
changed how I talk, how I express myself, how much I allow myself to speak up to myself. I have never even allowed myself to scream. You know how they say scream into the pillow or scream when you're alone somewhere. I could not do it physically. And
Mm,
then after chanting, it like something unlocked. So that's my introduction to it, and then
nice.
it rippled from there.
Nice. Very
Yeah.
cool. I
How was
don't,
your
isn't it
story?
amazing? I'm
Yeah.
gonna say kind of similar.
Hmm.
It's very, very similar. I grew up in a Catholic home, and so when I heard church chants, I always didn't know what they were singing because they were in Latin, and I never really connected with it. And I mean, I just didn't feel a lot of inspiration going when I was a kid, so I kind of built up a little bit of residue about like what the heck is going on here? What are we even doing right now? Like that kind of stuff. And I didn't feel the emotion. It was just more distant. And so I was practicing with my teacher, Tim Miller, Ashtanga Yoga and Encinitas. And I was preparing for his to do a second series teacher training with him. And prior to getting ready to go out there. To go to California. I dislocated a rib on my back and I was in excruciating pain. And so when I was flying out, I thought this is going to be miserable. And it was. And I landed and I was so miserable. But because I was also such an asana orientated person, I thought, I'm just going to push through this. I'm just going to push on through. And I did worse damage and I was really miserable. And so, uh, whatever day it was into the training, I was like so emotionally torn up and just physically in pain. And Tim pulled out his harmonium to sing the Hanuman Chalisa. And like my first reaction was like, oh no, this reminds me of church. And I just don't feel comfortable. Something is like not working for me here. And then the floodgates just opened up and I just started crying so intensely. And I just felt like I just like it was like a balm, like it was like I had a wound, and that the sound quality of my teacher and the group singing, just I felt like somebody was applying like a healing energy or like a balm. Like I just felt like such an incredible release, and I had a similar reaction to you. I was like, where can I buy a harmonium? And then I that was it. I just started learning. I was like, I dedicated myself to learning Hanuman Chalisa, which took me like years to memorize and to learn. And now I chant Hanuman Chalisa regularly every Tuesday morning. I chant with the students here at the studio, and I absolutely love it. I think it's one of the best parts of the yoga, and I feel like I had such resistance to it. And then it became one of my most favorite parts of it. And I love that juxtaposition of how something we can be so repelled against can end up being like our most beautiful, graceful, or like most amazing tool. So I loved hearing your similar, like how you're like, I don't know, let me just give it a shot. And then boom, the emotion that comes. I don't know that does Bhakti do that for everybody? Like the more because you get to travel internationally and you get to teach,
Yes,
what are you hearing, from people? Are you seeing
yeah.
a similar experience for everyone? Or do you feel like it's like you just have to hit some certain point in your life where then it feels like a good thing to do and then you then approach it and take it on? Like if somebody just is still like, I don't care as much as you guys talk about it. I could care less about getting involved in bhakti yoga. It just doesn't resonate for me. What sort of advice can you give us listeners for taking the leap?
I think the most important thing is being open-minded in yoga practice. I think things cannot be forced. Nothing real can be forced, but you can be open and you can be receptive. And I think it also is an important skill of a yoga teacher to be able to wrap different pieces of information, whether it is related to bhakti or related to philosophy or really any concept or asana for that matter, in a way that is digestible for the student. And I know that some things, some particular, let's say, melodies or even more traditional Indian music and different ragas, if I was playing that in Western classes, I think it would have not been received as well as more mainstream sounding melodies are. And Western music is very distinctive, pop music is very distinctive in the chord progression. And I think if the chants are adapted to Western music, or if there is like an overlap of a little bit of Western, which the Western practitioner can then more easily digest, and the idea and the spirit of the East, if it's merged, and if the teacher can skillfully bring these two aspects together, maintaining the tradition but serving it in a way that can be received well, I think that's the highest chance of introducing things to other people. And yeah, and for students, I would just say be open, just be open. And if none of the bhakti and none of the philosophy and none of the other stuff is interesting to you, and you want to learn only the asanas, it's wonderful too, because I believe everything happens in its good timing, in its due time.
Mm,
And
agreed.
yeah,
Agreed.
there's one more thing I wanted to mention, but
I like, yeah, you brought
yeah,
up a
yeah,
different
yeah.
term. Yeah, tell
I
me.
think from an experience I had, I used to work at one studio in Prague Yoga Collective, and especially a couple years ago, it's a Rocket Yoga studio,
Oh,
so
cool.
they're
Larry
quite
Schultz. Yeah.
strong on their asana. And I started teaching there, and I would bring to every single class my harmonium, and many students did not know any chanting beyond Om. And I was just very determined to carve out at least 15 minutes of our 90-minute session for little introduction, little chanting, etc. And sometimes, especially from men who are looking for quite athletic yoga, I would I would see like a little eye roll, like, oh my God, and we're going to do that thing now.
Yeah.
So what I did is that I actually played English songs on harmonium, like Beatles or
Mhm.
anything that would somehow fit the theme. And the feedback I received from the guys was mostly that I have not, like they said they have not done this since kindergarten. They have not sung for decades.
Mm.
And I think this also like helped to kind of break the barrier, because it's not only about um, the foreign language, which is Sanskrit, when we chant these devotional chants, but sometimes it's about just singing itself, like opening the mouth and releasing the voice. So English chanting was a little like middle step on the way towards chanting, and I know they really appreciated it. Yeah, because it was one thing to, yeah, it made it easier in some cultures. And now I spend a lot of time in Indonesia. So Indonesia, India, different cultures, singing, it's part of like mainstream modern culture, and not just perfect singing. Like people come from their farms and they unite with their neighbors and they just sing the whole evening. We don't do that in the West. Like it's so foreign to us. So I think especially Western practitioners need a little more guidance when it comes to music, especially if they're not musically oriented. And
Great
yeah.
point. I love that you're bringing all this up. So cool. I think you're right. I like the emphasis on if we just had singing night
Yeah.
and still I think it would be a challenge for me to get folks to show up. If I announce on my class schedule, 8 o'clock Wednesday night, singing night, I just, like you have a great idea about teaching a class and you put it all together and then no one shows up and you're like,
Yeah.
maybe my
I
idea,
guys
one of
don't
my
get
ideas
it.
I got, but
This is awesome.
yeah, this can be the best. It's gonna take off, and like you show up, you're the only person. Um, I I read something so fascinating recently about the Reformation. I'm trying to brush up on my history. So I was reading about the conflict in Ireland between the Catholics and the Protestants because I'm always curious, like, why in the heck are two people from the same religion fighting? That doesn't make sense. So then I picked up a book called The Reformation, and it's going super deep on like the 15th century and 16th century. And I guess at the time when people were getting a little disgruntled with the Catholic Church and the idea of the Pope, that they started like Luther or Lutheran, the Mr. Luther started challenging the church, and this author is saying that part of the reason that the Protestants made so much ground is because they made singing possible because they created more happy and accessible chord structures, and they embraced the ability for people to take up singing. So like, and not even like what I was saying in terms of hearing these songs in Latin, these like really kind of like drone like, which interestingly enough, because you made mention, I know I'm jumping all over the place, but you made mention about the tones of the sounds, like for like most of the Shiva mantras are sung like in an A minor or like in a minor chord. So it,
Yeah.
this kind of like, I don't want to say like depressing, but it like it can take you into an emotive place that's a little more somber or a little more like maybe, which fits the whole Shiva idea perfectly, I think, right? Like uh so I just find that fascinating. And you just kind of
Yeah.
you're proving this theory on some level that if we can make the musical element approachable and accessible, that we'll have far greater success than if we just stick to the traditional. But I like that you're also moving it in the direction of the traditional if people are open to it. Like you're actually doing enough study to know the difference between a pop song and a traditional Sanskrit mantra or Sanskrit
Yeah.
kirtan. Can you speak
And
a little bit about what you've learned along your journey in relation to this in terms of like in terms of the traditional, what are you gravitating toward these days? What mantra and or which deity seems to be speaking to you or calling to you, or are you calling to?
mm, and it's Shiva, definitely. Like now
Mm.
that you're now that you're talking about him, so coincidentally, it is Shiva. But I would say for me, there's always a mantra for a period of time. I try to go to kirtans often. If I'm in the area where they are happening, I try to go every week, and I yeah, like I noticed that it's not with every mantra that it hits this spot within me that really resonates, and it cannot be forced, of course. So I would even try to look for these types of mantras within a kirtan. I was like, okay, when is the song gonna come that really,
Mm.
hits it? It
Mm.
may happen, it may not happen, but it changed over time. Um, the first one that deeply resonated with me was Ma Durga, the Krishna Das's version. And I did not know much about
That is a
the
beautiful one, isn't it? Oh,
beautiful one. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
oh
And I
my
remember
God.
at the time I did not know much mythology and stories about Durga. I have not read Devi Mahatmya before that time. So I didn't know, but now that I look at things in retrospect, I know that I was connecting with that mantra the most because I needed to step into because Kali and Durga represent this like fierce feminine energy, the one who stands up when something stands up against unrighteousness, um, the one who protects herself, who allows herself to be heard. And that is exactly what I was looking for and wanting to learn on a psychological level at the time. So now I understand why that was so important to me. And then some time passed, and I remember I think it was 2022, the whole year of 2022, I would listen to Maha Mantra and I would play Maha Mantra Hare Krishna. And I had a lot of baggage with that mantra because I would see Hare Krishnas when I was little, and they would just dance and chant through the city, and I thought those are weird with their weird outfits and weird instruments, being so happy and selling books I could not understand. But then I connected with Mahamantra on an extremely deep level, and it opened up my heart, literally.
Mm.
So I think, yeah, for me, it's a journey of being open and seeing what comes, and I understand that it cannot be forced. And sometimes when I'm in this period between the mantras, when one kind of does its job and I have not connected with another one, I'm looking for something, but then I need to remind myself to just be patient, and
Mm.
it will come. And now for some time it has been like anything related to Shiva. Um, about a year and a half, or almost 2 years ago, year and a half, I spent 1 month in an ISKCON Hare Krishna ashram in India, and everybody was
How
praying
long?
Hare
You spend how long?
1 month.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, and
Isn't that
I
incredible? I mean, I totally agree with you. Upon first inspection, you know, how could the Western mind not criticize the
yeah,
robes, the haircuts, the chanting loudly in the streets? And we're often taught to criticize cultures that are, well, I'm not saying maybe not you, but I don't know. Sometimes we're
um,
taught, it seems like,
please,
yeah,
yes,
right. This
I'm
is
a human.
a
I judge
worldwide
and
thing. It's a
criticize,
human thing. Yeah. It's
and I
what we
don't
do.
like it,
Yeah, it
but
doesn't
it
fit in my
happens.
box. Doesn't fit in my box. So, um, oh my gosh, I know my first introduction to kirtan chanting, I was 18 and I was at University of Florida in Gainesville, and there's a big Hare Krishna ISKCON community that lives in an area called Alachua County out in North Florida. And I got the full introduction. Oh man, it was so great. I loved it. I loved it. It was incredible. Waking up really
Amazing.
early in the morning and chanting Hare Krishna on the Japamalas out in the forest, and just everybody walking together in the woods and chanting silently. It was so cool. And then the kirtans in the temple, reading of the Bhagavad Gita. Now, to be in India, because obviously ISKCON devotees that don't, there's a lot of push for making a pilgrimage to India if you're an ISKCON devotee. And it's a big dream come true to make it to India for any Westerner that becomes an ISKCON devotee. You got a chance to go to India. Did you go to Vrindavan? Were you in Vrindavan, like the birthplace of?
No, unfortunately, no. I was not in Vrindavan. Do you know Radhanath Swami?
Yeah, I don't know him
Yeah,
personally, but I read his book, The Journey
yeah,
Home.
yeah.
Yeah, uh,
So I also read his book, Journey Home. I fell in love, the story.
amazing. I
Yeah,
mean,
resonated deeply with me.
ah,
And also I read Journey Within, and
oh wait. Well, wait, which
that's
one is
his
his?
second book. The
Ah,
first one is where he describes his journey, like when he was still a teenager, hippie, and then he would hitchhike.
yes, I read that.
Uh,
Okay, I haven't done the Within one. All right, thank you for
yeah,
telling
so
me.
that is
All right.
about Bhakti.
Mm.
Um, and that one was very deep. Anyway, I found out because many people who I admire, many writers who wrote stuff that I admire and resonates with me, unfortunately, many of them have passed away. And I learned that Radhanath Swami was still alive, and I was like, "Oh my God, he's still alive! Where is he?" And I learned that he has this whole village that he built, Govardhan Eco Village, and it's 3 hours away from Mumbai. And then coincidentally, another teacher that I really look up to, Raghunath Kapo, maybe you know of him as well. He's from the States, Raghunath Kapo. He's also in ISKCON. And he also just released a book, From Punk to a Monk. He used to be a punk. I think it would be really cool for your podcast, by the way.
Let's do it.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna send you the infos.
be cool.
Yeah, so he held like a cultural immersion slash teacher training at Govardhan, and Radhanath Swami was gonna be there. and I just signed up, and
Nice.
yeah,
Nice.
it was beautiful.
So
So
cool.
but I still really want to
Now,
go to Vrindavan.
did you have any, oh, what's the right way to say this? Not pressure from ISKCON, but did you have any either internal desire to become a renunciate, or did
Hmm.
you receive any questions from fellow renunciates or I guess fellow is maybe like such a male word, but you get the idea, like your other,
Yeah, yeah.
do you,
Mm.
that to become a renunciate, did it ever cross your mind? Did you think about, oh my gosh, I could just stay here, I'll just stay here and become a Hare Krishna devotee? Did it cross your
Yeah. That that's a really good question, actually. It was a big thing. A little like with renunciation a little bit, but so I signed up because I knew of Raghunath and I knew of Radhanath Swami, and both of them have shared things that extremely inspired me, and I knew I wanted to be in close proximity to them, so that's why I went. But I did not know a lot about ISKCON and what it is and what this devotee life includes. And I was maybe one of 5 people out of a 60-person group who was like that. So many people that I met during the training were celibate, in celibate marriages or celibate single, devotees doing their rounds of Japamala. I think it's 16 rounds of Japamala a day, and reading Bhagavad Gita and celebrating Prabhupada and the whole thing. And I must say, at the beginning, they were, I must say, the entire time extremely nice, respectful, helpful, and nobody pushed me to anything or said anything. But I knew I had this internal conflict where I felt a little like I don't I don't fit in
Mm,
because I have not said yes to
mm,
something so
mm,
many people, the majority said yes to, and
mm.
they're completely convinced. And for me, I'm open to hear about it, but I cannot say that my heart is there. And I remember I really tried to give it a shot, and I was doing my Japamala in the morning, walking to satsang at 5:30 a.m. And I was like, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. But then when I stopped concentrating, it automatically went to Om Namah Shivaya,
Mm,
which is my,
mm,
I don't know, it's just like something that resonates with me.
mhm.
So I was there and I was like, why am I always slipping back to Om Namah Shivaya? I want to continue, and now I want to open myself up to this. So many great people that I'm inspired by believe in this. So there must be something in there for me. And it gave me a lot, I must say, but um, my heart is elsewhere. And later on, after this experience, I discovered Kashmir Shaivism and non-dual Shaiva Tantra, and that is like that just resonates 100%.
Ah,
That's
yeah.
because I read the Bhagavad Gita and even Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, and they are incredible texts. However, my heart connects better to something different.
Yeah.
So,
In which case you're
yeah,
recognizing your Ishta Devata, your personal,
yeah,
you're starting to like actually go, oh my gosh, this is where I'm at home. This is what speaks.
yeah.
Isn't that cool?
Slowly it's
It's amazing.
crystallizing. I did
Yeah.
not know, but
Mm.
it's just automatically like whenever, for example, I get a little nervous when the plane is taking off or landing. What my mind does automatically is Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, just on repeat in the moments when I feel the most, like when the rational mind just stops working and you're back in the most like primal ways of behaving and thinking. When I feel afraid or when I feel like I want connection, it goes towards that for me. And it just somehow crystallized in that direction over time.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes.
and the right teachers came. Then I discovered amazing author and teacher Chris Wallace Harish, Maybe you know, he
I
wrote
haven't.
Tantra Illuminated.
Ooh, I have that on my wish list. I haven't done it yet,
Definitely
but
recommend,
you're backing it up.
200%.
Okay.
So
All
good.
right. All
That
right.
was very illuminating for me.
I need to go back in that direction. I've been reading so many heavy, like geopolitical books lately that I'm like, I need more yoga books right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh my God.
It's
That's so
good.
cool,
Like,
Sarah. I am so excited to meet you. I really enjoy hearing your stories. I love meeting fellow yoga travelers that are that you're going for it and really trying to learn and get into the heart of it, but then you're also listening to your own heart and able to navigate, knowing when to how to even navigate all that. It's such an incredible journey. Um,
thank you. You're
that
so
is
sweet.
amazing. That's so cool. I don't want to go down this track, but I also have to just interject that for me, when that question came up, are you going to commit? Are you going to commit to becoming a devotee? I think a couple of different issues came in. One of them, though, as I started hearing some of the grumblings amongst the lay folk about the politics, it definitely caused me to go, oh, okay, I'm out of here. You know,
Mm,
like when I started hearing some of those stories, I was like,
yeah.
oh, that doesn't feel good for me. But I don't mean any disrespect. That was just my own personal. How, so I know we're getting close to our time having, I know we scheduled an hour together. I have so many more questions for you. So I just want to make sure I
No,
have
we can do a
something.
part two
We can do a part
sometime
two. Thank you.
because I'm having really good chat with
Well,
you.
thank you. I have to ask, how are you navigating yoga politics? Like, how do you, like, I don't want to take you down like actual country politics right now because it's like a crazy subject, but more like, for example, you hear about a little bit of something or other that went down with someone between this teacher and the students and that type of thing. And you're just like, oh, that doesn't feel good. That doesn't seem right. What is your method for navigating? Because that's a real issue, I think, as a yoga practitioner. When we start getting a little bit deeper into this, like at first we step into asana class and we're like, this is awesome. Or maybe it took a little while, but we get to this point where we're like, we love it. And as we go deeper, we also might encounter some cult-like scenarios in the yoga
Mm.
world. What has been your journey in relation to making sure you stay true to yourself?
Yeah, that's a good question. I remember when I did my teacher training, then officially, and I started to make yoga into a business. And I thought, now I'm in the yoga business and everybody's going to be honest and everybody's going to wish me well. And it's going to be just the best possible uh, place to work at. And it is an amazing place to work at. But in the end, people are still people. And I'm a human and people that I work with are people. So inevitably, we are going to fall into ignorance in different ways. And
Well
for
said.
me, yeah, both sided, of course. And for me, I think it is important. I'm trying to think because I never had an agenda. I never had a plan. I don't know. But what I remember is when I read the book Journey Home by Radhanath Swami, and he eventually ends up joining ISKCON and becoming a Krishna devotee. But most of the book, most of his journey is about meeting different teachers and ultimately until he becomes a Krishna devotee, he always returns back to like, hey, that teacher is not for me. I need to listen to my teacher within. And I believe it's extremely important to have an external teacher. But I really like this sense of like nobody's gonna save you. Like not even the teacher is gonna save you. And I think that's what I wanted at the beginning. I remember when I first got very serious about yoga, I wanted to find my teacher who would answer all of my questions and that I could always rely on, that could in a way save me. And for the longest time, I would not meet this person. And I think this taught me to always come back to myself, like not expect that everybody will save you and know that people are people and not in a sad way. People are people, they're gonna
Yeah.
disappoint you, but
Yeah.
more like,
Let's
uh,
celebrate it. Let's celebrate that people are
yeah,
people. Yeah.
people are people. And, and the teachers, and because ultimately what we're trying to connect to something larger, to love, to something divine, which can be found really anywhere, not just in one person, not just in one group. And maybe a group supports this journey, but maybe a group does not support the journey. And maybe who supports the journey is not in any way formally practicing yoga. So I think it's important to keep the eyes open to where is this teaching coming from, like the
Yes.
guru
Yes.
removing darkness. Where is that coming from? Is it my child? Is it my mom? Is it my brother? Is it the random person? Is it this book? Is it the song? Like, what is it?
Ooh, great questions.
No.
My, yeah,
Thank you.
that's
So
cool.
nice talking to you.
Thank you so much, Sarah.
Yeah.
What a pleasure. I had a feeling this was going to be really fun. So thank you for bringing that to reality. Is there any thing, that concept, idea, message that you want to close with, that you feel is on the forefront of your dream and ambition for those of us listening? Like what pops in
I
your head?
think we talked about the Colibri Spirit Festival at the beginning, and
Mm.
uh, a guy played a song, just one song, and it was called "Stay Open to Life." And I think it's a very nice thing. Like, stay open to what comes, be open to learning things you feel weirded out by, that, you know, just stay open. You don't know. So I think that's my parting message.
I
Stay
like
open
it.
to how life will unfold, and celebrate it
Yes.
along the way.
Oh man. Thank you, Sarah. What a
Thank you,
pleasure.
God. Well,
Thank
thank
you.
you so much.
I look forward to hearing feedback from the listeners, and this has been an honor, and thanks for making time for us. And I look forward to, you mentioned part two. I was going to mention it before you did, so hopefully we can schedule, and we'll keep it going.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Todd. Thank you for
Thank
the
you.
amazing questions.
Thank you.
And yeah, I'm looking forward
All
for
right. Thanks so
this to
much.
come out and to listen to more episodes from
Cool.
you.
And if you ever want to run a studio, and my wife and I will take a little break, come to Florida.
We can just wait.
You can try it out for a week and just see, maybe you're like,
Ah,
no, I'm kidding.
I would
Thank-
love.
All right. Thank you, Sarah.
All right. Thank you. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you.